Ford government is looking to enhance Ottawa's sick leave program instead of implementing a provincial version. The province is offering to match the federal sick leave policy compensation if Ottawa will handle administering the payments to eligible workers. It would provide them with $1,000 a week for 4 weeks. The Ford government has been heavily criticized by experts who say a provincial sick leave program would help prevent workplace outbreaks. The issue continued to top the agenda today at Queen's Park.
I'm encouraged, quite frankly. This is the first time that they've indicated that they want to talk to us. I look forward to engaging them this afternoon to get to work on behalf of Ontario workers to fill the major gap in the federal program, and that is $12.50 for Ontario workers, which does not encourage people to stay home if they're sick. We're going to double that program. We'll pay 100% of that cost, but we need the federal government's infrastructure to get those checks out quickly.
When I read that letter from the Deputy Prime Minister and the Treasurer, or the Finance Minister in Ottawa, in short, it said, when hell freezes over, we're going to fix your problem. It was pretty clear that the federal government has rebuffed the province's initiative, and rightfully so, because it's not paid sick days. What the government of Ontario is suggesting is not paid sick days. It's the doubling down on a failed federal program.
Well, for more on this, we are joined live by employment lawyer Dan Lublin. Thanks, as always, for joining us. You know, obviously, for the past year or so, we've had several experts and ICU doctors all calling for the same thing, and paid sick days. And there's a big difference between paid sick days and the Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit, specifically that it requires individuals to apply for it after they are sick, and it's temporary, and it's restricted to COVID-19. What is your take on this constant jousting between the province and the feds?
Hey, Jamie. Bottom line is this is a political hot-button issue. It was political before COVID-19, and it's still political now. I think it's time for the Ford government to stop acting political and to start listening to the medical advisors. And that means a proper, targeted form of paid sick leave for those workers who are forced to actually be at work, not those that are working remotely, and that may move the needle.
Earlier today, the Prime Minister said Ontario's sick leave plan should involve employers rather than just topping up the existing program. Is that something that you think would work?
Well, the problem with the federal government program is it's inefficient, and that is the main complaint. It's inefficient. So we have a problem here where workers need to have that access to paid sick leave in order to utilize it, and then you have to make an application to a federal program for money that you'll see after the fact. So I do think some form of targeted paid sick leave for those essential workers who are actually at large workplaces would make a difference. And what we saw today, Jamie, is we saw a real lunch meat proposal by the Ford government, which was essentially to try to piggyback on the federal program, which isn't going to really move the needle. And then the federal government today just pushed it back and said, no, I think you need to do this interprovincially.
Yeah, well, furthermore to that, the finance minister said when Ontario is ready to mandate sick leave in provincially regulated businesses, as we have done for federally regulated businesses, we will be there to help. I mean, it really, furthermore, to your point, that this is becoming extremely political.
It was from the beginning, and that is not saving people's lives. We are hearing from the doctors in this province that there needs to be some form of paid sick leave. I think there's some political basis to everything we're hearing, but putting that aside, if that's what the doctors are saying, then it should be done. And what needs to happen, Jamie, is there needs to be very targeted sick leave. It needs to be for these large workplaces where these outbreaks are happening. I do think it should be temporary during the period where the COVID numbers are high, and that should improve the situation.
What kind of calls are you getting at your office about this ongoing situation, especially for those who might have, maybe have lost their job, or they're just losing out on pay, and they're worried about, calling in to work sick, especially if they're symptomatic?
Jamie, it's an ongoing saga, and the drama of this COVID-19 plays out. We hear terrible stories. Most people who are calling us with situations, they're either fired or disciplined, or displaced because of COVID-19 in one way, shape, or form. Or we're getting a lot of calls from people that are saying they don't feel comfortable in the workplace. Physical distancing is not happening. They feel forced to come in and work in situations where they don't feel safe at work and people are not wearing masks, so on and so forth. And that's why we have a problem in this province with the number of COVID positive cases right now.
So if you were in a room with the Premier and a bunch of his advisors, what would you suggest?
Number one, stop acting political. Start listening to the doctors. Number two, consider some paid sick leave for those people at large workplaces where these outbreaks are happening. Make it a temporary measure and make it restricted to those people who are actually physically at work as opposed to people working remotely. That should solve some of the problem and make it happen now.
Employment lawyer Dan Lublin with Whitten Lublin Employment Lawyers, thank you so much for joining us. We always appreciate your time.
Thanks, Jamie.
Well,